It was a roller coaster year of grief and despair, followed by hope and confidence as we fought to conquer a common enemy. On the front lines, doctors and scientists of the University of Maryland School of Medicine worked heroically to keep COVID patients alive. In the laboratory, researchers studied the virus to develop new treatments. Conducting historic clinical trials, School of Medicine vaccinologists proved that new vaccines can stop the virus in its tracks. But the threat remains from a virus that shows no mercy. So many people are alive today because of the strength, resilience, and partnership exhibited by the faculty, trainees, staff, and students of the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and the doctors and the nurses who treated COVID-19 patients throughout the University of Maryland medical system. These are their stories, the voices of COVID. Destiny Banks was celebrating her birthday with Mom when COVID struck last August.
I couldn't breathe, it was so bad that I couldn't walk down the steps. If I could describe it, it would be like running up the steps and then only being able to breathe through a straw.
Destiny became so sick that she required ECMO care in the lung rescue unit at the R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center. ECMO is a heart-lung machine that removes carbon dioxide and oxygenates the blood before sending it back to the body.
It's really your decision, and I will support your decision.
Dr. Ali Tabatabai oversees the large multidisciplinary team providing ECMO care to patients like Destiny, and Maria Diaz, who contracted COVID last fall.
I was feeling tired, I had a little bit of fever, and I had muscle pain. Yes, I got very worried because I was only 29 weeks pregnant.
Maria's baby was delivered by C-section while she was still on ECMO, but bleeding complications developed and Maria suddenly went into cardiac arrest. For nearly 45 minutes, CPR and defibrillation failed to bring Maria's heart back to life.
I'm not gonna lie to you, there were periods of time during that prolonged cardiac arrest where I wasn't sure that Maria was going to survive.
But doctors and nurses refused to give up, and finally, a normal heart rhythm was restored. Do you think you would be here if you hadn't gone to the University of Maryland?
We wouldn't be here right now.
Destiny is also thankful for the life-saving care she received.
The nurses and doctors there were very, very knowledgeable and very kind.
There were 2 different Katie's, both in the
lung rescue.
Yes.
Destiny's mom wrote down the names of all the doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, and support staff involved in her daughter's care. More than 40 names are on that list.
I'm grateful that it was that particular hospital to have such a large team assigned to just me.
The University of Maryland COVID ECMO program is the largest in the country and includes dozens of faculty physicians specializing in trauma, cardiac surgery, emergency medicine, pulmonology, and anesthesiology.
Medicine is a team sport, and I think that is dramatically evident in the provision of ECMO care and in the provision of the care that we provide to all patients during the pandemic.
It's because of that extraordinary level of care and commitment that Maria can hold her baby today.
I wholeheartedly want to thank them for saving my life. I would like to thank God for putting them there to save me, and I would like to thank all the medical staff, and I hope that they are very well in the future.
Without the lung rescue unit, Maria's risk of dying would have been 80%.
She honestly, in more ways than one, is truly a miracle. The fact that she made it through everything she did, and to improve and heal and come off ECMO and walk out of the hospital and get home to lead what will hopefully be a long, productive, happy, and healthy life is really amazing, and the reason we do what we do.
COVID survivor Creed Bailey is returning to the medical intensive care unit to thank the doctors and nurses who saved his life.
You look fantastic.
Thank you. I feel great.
Oh, good. Wow.
How are you?
Oh, it's so good to see you.
It's good to be seen.
Creed's illness was so severe, he was on a ventilator for 2 months and nearly died several times.
The reality for him was that there were multiple times when we were taking care of him that we thought that he's not going to survive this. And there were multiple conversations with his family saying that, be ready for a phone call at any given time to come in to see him, because this might be the end of his life.
Doctors in the MICU battled a slew of COVID-related complications, including blood clots.
Initially, we thought COVID was a respiratory illness that basically affected the lungs, and we knew how to handle that. As we learned very quickly, it actually affected every organ system of the body, including the brain, including the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the liver, and the heme system, as we saw in Creed's case.
Unfortunately, the blood clots led to the amputation of Creed's right leg.
Not bad.
But he's taking that in stride, with a positive outlook and a sense of humor.
Did you see my shirt?
That's great.
Yeah. It has not upset me at all, because I'm alive, right? The alternative could have been a lot worse.
Returning to the MICU was therapeutic for Creed and for the dozens of people involved in his care.
Thank you guys for everything. I mean, you're miracle workers.
Each day that I'm in the unit, I don't take for granted that it takes a team to take care of these critically ill patients. You may not be able to get everyone to recovery, but when we see folks recover, like Mr. Bailey, man, it makes it worth it, and it gives us hope for the next patient.
Today, Creed is back to work and looking forward to a future without COVID.
I don't know how to say it enough. Thank you guys for everything you did. I mean, literally, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
Creed! There we go.
By testing vaccines to end the pandemic, the University of Maryland School of Medicine played a pivotal role in the success of Operation Warp Speed. In a series of historic clinical trials, the Center for Vaccine Development and Global Health tested the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines.
We have about a 95% efficacy against any disease, and we have an almost 100% efficacy against severe disease.
These two trials have shown and proven that this was a good hypothesis.
The CVD is also testing the Novavax vaccine and evaluating the effectiveness of booster shots.
We need to establish whether the vaccine can respond to a boost in a delayed fashion.
So it's been a really exciting thing to be a part of this and to feel like we're contributing in some way to help with the fight against COVID.
Vaccines tested by the School of Medicine have been administered to millions of people worldwide.
Oh, I did it!
Frontline healthcare workers and physicians were the first to be vaccinated.
I hope this vaccine will be the way we get back to doing all the things that we miss doing.
The COVID response is coordinated by the Incident Command System, a partnership between the School of Medicine, the University of Maryland Medical System, and the University of Maryland, Baltimore.
We are in a race. It is vaccine versus variant. The more of us and the faster we all get vaccinated, the less of a chance there is for variants to potentially be an impact to our own health.
Medical student Ellen Moore volunteered to give vaccinations.
I feel like we're really giving back to our community and making a difference.
Working with organizations like Casa de Maryland, the School of Medicine is fighting vaccine hesitancy in underserved communities.
Me han comunicado.
Dr. Sandra Quezada reached out to the Latino community on social media.
We have suffered more infections, more death and mortality than other groups in this country.
During the pandemic, the Institute for Genome Sciences and the Department of Pathology partnered with the state to provide high-throughput COVID testing for hundreds of thousands of people. Positive results are checked for deadly mutations.
If we identify known variants, we report this to the state. And at the same time, we also deposit all the data into public databases.
Dr. Matt Frieman is investigating how effective the vaccines are against the variants.
So right now, my lab is working with Novavax to do animal studies to determine how well new versions of their vaccine can work against these new variants from the UK and South Africa.
New treatments for critically ill patients are being developed at the Institute of Human Virology, celebrating its 25th anniversary under the leadership of founder and director Dr. Robert Gallo.
We were designing and participating in clinical studies that would help fight the virus as well as to help the immune system to control the virus.
A year after contracting COVID-19, Rick Dressler still suffers from shortness of breath, headaches, and brain fog.
Definitely memory loss. I was, in my careers, while I did write things down, I never had to write things down on the spot. But now I write everything down.
The fact that you still have abnormalities on your CT scan correlates with your degree of symptoms.
Rick is one of many COVID long haulers being treated by Dr. Andrea Levine in her post-COVID practice.
A lot of what I do is reassure them that these are real symptoms, that we're hearing from every country around the world that had COVID, that people are continuing to complain of these symptoms.
You're going to be asked the meaning of some words.
Hoping for answers, Rick is participating in a research study co-led by Dr. Linda Chang. The study is designed to measure and understand post-COVID symptoms.
We do functional MRI on them. We do what's called MR spectroscopy that measure the brain chemicals. We also have techniques that measure brain oxygenation.
Dr. Chang believes brain inflammation may be to blame for Rick's brain fog.
Patients who have inflammation in the brain oftentimes will react slower to remembering things.
Rick took a battery of tests to measure 7 separate areas of cognitive function.
Touch the picture of banana.
He also took tests while undergoing an MRI of his brain so that changes could be detected in real time.
You have a screen that you can see. They might show you a letter, and if it matched the preceding letter, you had to press a button. That memory game should have been easy, and it wasn't.
In Rick's brain scan, Dr. Chang can see obvious evidence of inflammation.
You see these white spots here? This is a big one, and then there's some little small ones too, and there's even one small one here. So this tells me, because of where it's located, that at some point your brain wasn't getting enough perfusion, like wasn't getting enough blood flow.
As part of the study, Rick's spinal fluid is being tested at the Institute of Human Virology. Researchers are looking for signs of inflammatory cells.
And looking at those inflammatory cytokines to try to figure out which cells, T cells, B cells, NK cells, other kinds of immune cells, which of those are generating these pro-inflammatory signals that might be leading to this damage.
Today, Rick is trying to enjoy life while adjusting to a new normal, one that he hopes will not be permanent. And he's urging people to support COVID research.
So if anyone has the means to donate to these really excellent studies and ideas for studies at a really excellent institution, then let's do it. Let's get them going.
For Karen Itzel, singing in the family's Christian band was a source of great joy. But that joy was suddenly taken away by COVID-19.
Not only did I have it, but I had pretty serious pneumonia in both lungs.
Karen would remain on a ventilator for the next 17 days as School of Medicine doctors fought to save her life.
So Karen, like most of the patients we care for in the medical ICU, had acute respiratory distress syndrome. She had opacities in her lungs from the COVID virus. She was heavily sedated, requiring neuromuscular blockade or paralytics.
Karen's family was still able to talk to her every day.
Once they introduced the idea of the iPad and the Zoom calls, that was such a blessing.
While I was just sleeping and lying there, they would talk and try to say things that I would want to hear. And they decided one day to sing a song.
What heights of love, what depths of peace.
And it's a song that I've known for a long time, and I know it quite well. And as soon as they started singing it, something in me, it spoke to my soul. I just started to respond to that, and I remember. I knew that they had sung to me that day, and I cried.
But would Karen ever sing again herself, or were her vocal cords too damaged by the breathing tubes that kept her alive? As her condition improved, Karen's husband kept their fans up to date on social media.
We wanted to introduce a very, very special guest.
Hi, everybody.
She's home.
Yes, I'm so excited to be home, and I just want to thank everybody. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your prayers. It's just meant so much to me, and it got me through knowing that so many people were praying for me.
Recovering at home now, Karen is getting stronger every day. On the day of our visit, Karen received a report on her vocal cords.
I got some really good news today, and I had a scope to look at my vocal cords, and there's no damage at all.
And so we were there when Karen sang again for the first time.
This cornerstone, this solid ground.
It was the same song her family sung to her in the hospital.
To the doctors and nurses, I would say thank you for not giving up and for having patience and kindness. They just were so faithfully good to me at the hospital, and I would say that they should be very encouraged because they've impacted me in a beautiful way.
My all in all, I stand